Joining us now is Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe. He's the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, and he's joining us live from D.C. Senator, nice to have you on the program.
Nice to be with you, Jenna.
You've been critical of the president for not having a long-term strategy when it comes to Syria and when it comes to the Middle East. But our viewers don't have to look further than Senators John McCain and Rand Paul to know that the GOP is deeply divided, and there's some mixed messages about what exactly is the goal here. What is the goal as you see it? What is the mission in Syria?
Well, first of all, keep in mind, Jenna, that there is no long-term strategy. The Obama strategy has changed 3 times in the last week. Now we're sitting back and hoping that he can be bailed out by Russia. And so I look at this and I can't believe that this is taking place. To be lectured to by Putin as we were this morning, it's you know, I can just hear Reagan rolling over in his grave that this would be happening. I'm sure
viewers feel similar to that, and we're going to show them some of the editorial if they've missed it. It really took a dig at American exceptionalism, but sir, goes back to the other point of so if there's no long-term strategy from the president as you see it, then what is your long-term strategy? What are you searching for in this conflict?
The president is supposed to come up with the strategy. That's his job. That's what the Constitution says he's supposed to do. And he has not done that. And it makes it very difficult for us. Yes, they're correct when they say we're divided. I came out of the chute, I was the first one to say, I don't agree with the military intervention in the Middle East. I think that our president is wrong in doing it. But I said there's a reason that nobody talks about, and that reason is, in the last 4.5 years, this president has decimated our military. I mean, go back, Jenna, to the first 4.5 years ago, the first budget did away with our only 5th generation fighter, did away with our lift capacity, did away with the future combat system, the ground-based interceptor in Poland. That was just the first year. And since then, he's taken about $487 billion out of the military. And so we don't have the resources to go in. Now,
are you saying we're unsafe, Senator? Do you think we're unsafe right now because of that?
Yeah. No, I'm saying that we can go in. It'd be easy to send a few cruise missiles in. If it would end there, you know it's not going to end there. It would be an active war in the Middle East, and that is where we don't have the resources left. It's not just me saying it. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, said we're putting ourselves in the military on a path where force is so degraded and so unready that it would be immoral to use force.
Well, it is a scary thought. Let me just take another quote just to counter that, because that is something that General Dempsey said, and it does certainly send a direct message to the American people about where we're at. But here's what the Wall Street Journal said this week, Senator. The Wall Street Journal said this: failing to act now in Syria doesn't mean the U.S. will not go to war again in the Mideast. It means that when America goes to war again, the costs are likely to be greater. How concerned are you about that? That if we don't make the quote-unquote investment now, that we're setting ourselves up for an even worse conflict that's more costly in money and lives?
Well, the investment we need to make right now is back into our military, so that when we're confronted with a situation like that, we're going to be as we have been in the before. You know, I can remember people criticizing. I was opposed in the past to some of these interventions all the way back to Bosnia and Kosovo. But at that time, we had a strong military that could defend America on 2 fronts. We don't have that anymore, and we've got to keep that in mind, because people refuse to understand that we are in that situation where we're vulnerable.
Well, Senator, as you point out, many of our viewers and the majority of the American people, like you, do not want military intervention. With that said, are you willing to go along with President Putin and take it completely off the table so a deal can be done?
Well, of course, it's off the table anyway. The president doesn't have the votes. If he should seek congressional action to do votes, of course, he can do it without that. But we should not do that. But I'm not at all comfortable with relying on someone like Putin to make our determinations as to what our position is going to be in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world. Keep in mind, it's Putin and it's Russia that have supplied Syria with all of their weapons, all of their equipment, their assets necessary to inflict the damage that they're inflicting in the Middle East now. And let's also don't forget the real threat right next door. It's in Iran, and our intelligence has told us since 2007 that they would have a nuclear weapon and a delivery system by 2015, a year and a half from now. So you can't isolate this just between
Sure.
Russia, Syria, and us.
And you, as you rightly point out, that's something we're going to be talking about in just a few minutes, in fact, about what's happening with Iran and some headlines coming out of there. That said, a question that I asked Senator Manchin yesterday, I'd like to ask you as well, because we've been hearing time and time again that President Assad is a thug, a child murderer, a friend of Hezbollah, and certainly a partner with the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, Iran. So why would we want him to stay?
Why we would want Assad to stay? Is that what we're saying?
Right. If it's not military intervention and we don't trust the Russians, then why would we want him to continue on and to stay as leader of Syria?
Well, we wouldn't want him. People are always saying, if he's replaced, who's going to be replaced by? I think you saw just this morning that that we have been sending, and of course it was classified until this morning, I guess, arms into General Idris, who is a friend in there. But we know that there are other elements that are parts of the opposition that are probably as bad or worse than Assad. So that's the complications. So should we put all of that in the hands of someone that I don't trust to start with? In this case, it's Putin. By the way, the president didn't trust him either until last Tuesday.
Senator Inhofe, nice to have you on the program. Great to see you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, J.D.